Hello, welcome to my exhibit. It all started back when I was 5, and my mom found me in my room playing alone, sewing by myself with a needle and thread, and I made a completely functional garment from a piece of felt and a golden button and some needle and thread I found all by myself with no instruction. And yeah, I've always had an innate love for sewing, and it's turned into this entire exhibit, which begins with this beautiful shirt that was the first or last piece that my brother picked out for me when we were shopping together 14 years ago. I've worn it every single week, at least once a week, maybe sometimes twice. It's one of my favorite pieces. I love how it's decrepit and falling apart, and I love the beauty of that. And I instill that in every single piece where I create from a place of knowing that when you're making something in this physical plane, it doesn't just go away. It doesn't go into the garbage. It continues to live on, and the newness of it should be the less attractive version. What it becomes should be the most attractive version of it. So I want to create pieces that are more valuable over time, like this garment. And it is how I wear all my clothes. I let them go into completely destruct mode before I never get rid of them. I turn them into garments after. And this was the first piece that I made after moving home 3 years ago, which is what this exhibit is covering, is the past 3 years of my work. And it was my piece de resistance where I finally felt like I had my footing in design again, and I got back on my feet as far as where I was going. I had previously worked at Bridgerton and creating costumes, and there was a lot of hand sewing, and I was hand sewing next to people that had made garments for the Queen of England. So I was really watching the precision and the motion of their hand, and it was really methodical. It was really something I was drawn to. And I'd also visited a ton of archives while I was in the UK with the whip stitch. And the whip stitch is just a simple back and forth tunnel that you sew with a needle and thread. And it's what is the base for most of the pieces that you're going to see in the exhibit. And this piece specifically, I had zero equipment. I had bought a mannequin. That was lace I had bought in New York 10 years ago, and some nylons, because I love nylons. It's my favorite material to work with. And I sewed it together on the form. And I placed it next to the shirt because I felt like they mimicked each other as far as like the fabric, the form, the drapery. And I included a cigarette that I smoked while creating this exhibit, and I just wanted to poke fun at what art is and what it means to create value. So I threw that in. This piece is specifically about, it's first from my first runway collection I did when I moved home in 2023 at the River Styx Brewery in Fitchburg. And it was the first piece to go down the runway. And I wear it all the time. I wore it while I was placing an exhibit out in Worcester, and I was heading into the library after the exhibit because I love the Worcester Library. And some woman came up behind me and was like harassing me while I was wearing the skirt, and I was just like, "Why are you laughing?" And she didn't have an answer. And I was like, "Joke's on you if you don't know why you're laughing." So that was a weird altercation I had with the skirt, and it was part of my first collection, so it all kind of pieces along. And with this bikini, this was a summer piece I made in the summer of 2024. I was shaving, and then I was thinking about hair and body, and I decided to make a bathing suit that matched the silhouette of how I shaved my pubic hair. So it became the custom pube bikini, which is like the niche design hill I will die on, as it's a weird thing that nobody offers, but it's really cool, and everyone should have a piece of lingerie or bathing suit that matches how they shave their pubes. I mean, I can't help you if you like go bald. That would be like, actually I can, because I'm creating an inverse bikini where it's actually underwear that doesn't show, it doesn't cover anything. It's coming 2026. But this specific piece I put out because I wanted to tell the story how I was swimming at the pool with my daughter, and I was moving, and I was tired, and I was just trying to relax, and I got stopped by the manager at the pool, and she's like, you need to cover up. And I was just like, excuse me? I was wearing a regular bathing suit, I wasn't wearing that one. I was just wearing a bathing suit. I've worn it to that gym 1,000 times since I started going there. And I was just like, is it because I have boobs right now? And I was like, that guy over there has boobs on his back. Should he cover up? And she didn't have anything to say back. So I just stayed and I swam and I did my thing. Like, it was fine. And they never came back to talk to me about it because it's like, yeah, that's you. You take that back and do what you want with it. These pieces are these two are from the same runway, and this is from my most recent runway, but they're a collection of the knits I do. I use a vintage 1970s knitting machine that is all hand, and each row has all these different variations due to me going in and changing and moving around the strings and placements. So I just wanted to showcase how intricate the work is. There is computerized knitting, but you don't get that nuanced humanity behind each piece where you have this raw, natural look to the knit. You won't be able to find that with machine knitting. The Valeria top is the first piece I sold off of my website. It's inspired by an experience I had in San Francisco. I was working in a nightclub, and a man came up to me while I was knitting in coat check and was like, oh, what are you knitting, a bra? And I was just like, I did not know what to do, so I just laughed, because I was like, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard about anyone approaching me to ask. And then I was like, what if I am knitting a bra? And I started draping out bras with knitting, and I made this top, which is different every single time because it's all hand done, and you can vary every nylon and make your own piece out of it. My slogan tees, I am a millennial, and slogan tees is something I grew up on, so I wanted to incorporate that in my brand. It's kind of basically me digesting life. So when I first moved back to Massachusetts, I remembered what it was like. So I moved out when I was 18 after I got out of high school, so get me out of this one-horse town. And I moved and I lived about. And then I moved home and I remembered how I dress weird and no one likes that. So I started a campaign, and the collection is Make Massachusetts Slutty. Everyone thinks that it's a MAGA slogan, but it's actually from Cicciolina. She has a slogan that says, make many sex, no war. Because notice I never said again, because Massachusetts has never been slutty. So Make Massachusetts Slutty was my summer collection I showed in August, and this is the namesake t-shirt. And I had my protest sign. And the Men Are Pathetic collection came out in the summer before. It's all just based off of me having an experience and metabolizing it and putting it into words that are just kitschy slogan tees. And then I incorporate those nylons that you saw in the beginning into the clothes, and you get that really decrepit looking rund nylons that looks cooler over time. This is a collage of all different runways that I've done over the years here while in Massachusetts. This specific runway I did for Runway to Resilience, and it helped people who were fighting cancer have a moment on the runway and feel good. And I showed knits and a bunch of different pieces. There's a ton of different collections in this area. So I did 3 installations of Dota. Dota was my thesis collection from when I graduated from University of Arts in San Francisco, which was very haphazard because of the pandemic, and I also was living in the UK at the time, which is a whole other story. Anyways, I graduated, I didn't get to do my full runway show, and my thesis was Dota, which is Carol Dota, a topless dancer from the 1960s in San Francisco, which I'd been living in San Francisco for 7 years, which it just really totally took over my work and my aesthetic. And I did 3 installations of runways from that collection. And I have pieces from all of them. Isadora Duncan is in the corner, and it's a piece inspired by Isadora Duncan, a interpretive dancer from San Francisco who actually died from suffocation from a scarf, which I just thought was the most fabulous thing possible. And it goes on from there. This is a more recent runway I did in November. This is inspired by Cicciolina, and it goes along with the Make Massachusetts Slutty. This is Make Many Sex, No War, and it was the runway had a theme of revolt. So I did the most coarse cutting possible. I used my oldest scissors without any sharpness and just used the garments as they were. This is an Under Armour sports jacket I turned into lingerie. Those are a pair of H&M skirt and Zara pants, and I just kept the shape of the garments and then draped into the shapes. And I was really pleased with the draping on that. And the jacket is from Yayoi Kasima, who is a Japanese artist. And in the 1970s, she had the orgy dress, which is a costume that housed 6 people at once, and you would go to protest in it. So 5 people were in this look, including myself, down the runway with our flower crowns to honor Cicciolina. This is the art section of my website, which I feel like people always kind of brush over, but I do consider myself an artist, although I make clothing. I have my love letter project, which is for $22, I'll write you a love letter by hand and mail it to you, which who will do that for you? It's my own special thing. I'm a romantic. I'm also very intuitive, and I can tell you the things that you want to hear if you do want to hear them. It's only $22. These are my dirty panty prints, which go along with that strain of intimacy for sale and creating a space where it's palpable rather than just selling underwear online. I'm selling a print of it, so now it's art. And the same goes along with my nipple print. This is something I created while I was still in school. I was just strung out working on stuff at 4 in the morning, and I just literally dunked myself in ink and started making prints of my own nipple. And I love the way it looks. Each print is completely different and unique in its own. And then finally, this is the bridal portion of my brand. So I did want to do bridal, as I was working at a bridal boutique in the UK, and I wanted to continue that into the work I do here. It's just such a pivotal moment. And I used to work weddings all the time when I worked in hospitality, and I would just get all choked up, like, I love love. I'm a lover. And I included this is the first bridal gown I've ever created. It was for my own wedding. I made it in 10 hours the night before my wedding. It was very rushed. Everything was very fast. We got married after 6 weeks, and we're divorced now, but the dress remains, and it is the beginning of what I created for my first bridal collection with the Authentic Love bridal collection. But before that, I'll show you the customs that I do for other brides. So this is my friend from California who bought a choker from me and met their now partner who they're married to in that choker. And the first conversation they ever had was because she was wearing that choker. The necklace, he came to her and was like, wow, I really love your necklace. And she's like, oh, thank you. And they're now married. And when she was getting married, she's like, well, I want to redo that choker and surprise them at the altar. And I was like, okay. And I was like, well, what else can we do? So she's like, we're having a wedding in Mexico. So I was like, okay, let's do a glove veil moment. So, because you don't want to have anything over your head. It's hot there. So I created a glove for her so she could have it over her hand and not really touch much of her body in silk organza, and it would blow in the nice winds. And then she had thrifted a bridal dress for $10. And I was like, let's just do an upcycle look for your after party so you can have something fun to play in. And so I did 3 garments for her. And then the next bride I met while I was out, and I was dressing the band Andrew Queen. And they were doing the photography for the show, for their own personal fulfillment, and wasn't asked about, but I was there with my camera, and I do photography, but I'm not good at it. And I was like, hey, can you give me those pictures after I designed all the clothes they're wearing? And they're like, of course. And we exchanged emails and then Instagrams. And they saw me building the collection, the Authentic Love collection. Like, oh my God, I just bought a dress. Like, I should have got a dress from you. Why didn't I get a dress from you? And I was like, don't worry, I got you. What did you get? Let's upcycle it. And it went on from there. And they were specifically really curious about what it meant to be a bride taking up space as a femme, because they are them, and they were going for their bridal moment. And I was like, taking up space, I've got you. And we did a lot of volume, a lot of silhouette, and they were super happy with their look. But the last part, this is the last leg of work. This is my latest creation, the Authentic Love Bridal Collection. It's still on view at Art Twister until December 15th. I have the Hopeful Romantic, which begins the collection. It's a piece I created for a 2024 runway. I included one bridal look. I don't know why. And then later I looked back on it and I was like, oh, wow, I really resonate with this piece because it's made from 100% scraps from previous bridal commissions. And I put them all together, hand sewed them on the floor, on the form, and created the Hopeful Romantic, which is about putting yourself back together after heartbreak and becoming something beautiful from all the broken pieces. In the next part of the journey is the casual devotion, and it's the understanding that love isn't something that's performative. It's not the moment you're getting married. It's not the birthdays. It's not the big celebrations. It's about the everyday and how you show up in the relationship. So I used 2 different styles of pearls, a freshwater pearl, which was very coarse and like natural to represent those like unsolicited moments where you actually show up for somebody and truly show their love by just how you feel towards them, by your actions and behaviors that you show. And then the glass ones were about, you know, you're still going to have birthdays and stuff and Valentine's Day. So those pearls are those moments. And I did very intricate draping in specifically cotton jersey fabrics because I wanted to show how beautiful something ordinary is when you put thought, intention, time into it, which is the casual devotion that love deserves. The strings connected piece is knits and felting, and the felting is about when you're walking on eggshells or when you feel like the strings attached to the relationship that is straining to you and your ability, because love is expansive. It's when love is not expansive, is when the strings are connected, attached. But when strings are connected, it's like a 4-way knit where it breathes, it moves, and there's space and you can see straight through it to the other side. So that's how I tried to show that piece and moment and love. And the last piece is intimacy, which is an extremely layered look. It is something that people consider intimacy in one light where it's like physical closeness, sexuality, or that stuff. But for me, I wanted to highlight the least talked about form of intimacy, which is conflict intimacy, where you are safe to have a different view from your partner and express that view without conflict and chaos and complete disruption in the relationship, and there's not a total meltdown. So I did that in several different ways, with the stitches and the push and pull, and then with the straps are crisscrossed, and they're both facing different directions, but they work together to hold the dress up. And then the last part about it is the heart I embroidered, I understand. For me, I feel like understanding is the deepest form of intimacy, where you have someone that actually understands every moment that you're with them and never takes anything the wrong way. And I created the choker of diamonds because I wanted to represent how people are choking themselves out with the aestheticisms of partnership rather than actually truly interfacing with what it needs to be in order to be successful. And that's what I want to bring to bridal, is this really raw emotional side that it is, and it's never expressed through, the drapes or the laces or anything. So that's my first bridal collection. I also have a piece that I did for Safe Exit Initiative, which is something I did back last year, and it's another form of bridal where I'm talking about the commodification of purity. So I Google searched what it means to be a high-value woman, because these women are escaping sex work and were sex trafficked, and I wanted to make them feel valuable. And the things that come up were bridal, and I was just like, or Mother Mary. And then I researched and found out that Queen Elizabeth's wardrobe was based off of Mother Mary, and that's all where bridal came from. So this ideals of the high-valued women. So in this piece specifically, I opened up the chest so you fully see the body, and I asked the viewer to look at a woman and say, are you valuable? Do you have to be pure to be valuable? and that's the commodification of purity. That's the broader look I created for Safe Exit Initiative, which is an organization in Worcester that helps women who've been sex trafficked. And that's the whole exhibit. I hope you loved everything.